Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. It is August 6, 1945, a bright, clear summer morning in Hiroshima, Japan. The clock strikes 8:15 when all of a sudden everything changes. In a matter of seconds, everything you knew is vaporized. Homes, families, friends. This is a situation that many Japanese people found themselves on that fateful morning in Hiroshima, and 3 days later in the city of Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. Hello, my name is mgarzon, and today I would like to talk to you about the effects of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. First, I would like to share with you the effects of the atomic bomb on the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then I would like to share with you the effects of the atomic bomb on infrastructure in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. First, let's examine the effects of the atomic bomb on people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
A little louder, Mark.
According to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the U.S. military report, before the bombing, Hiroshima had 250,000 people, and Nagasaki had a total of 195,000. When the bomb was dropped, the immediate death upon the explosion in Hiroshima was 66,000. And the immediate death in Nagasaki was 39,000. According to this chart, the main cause of death immediately when the bombs exploded was burns, as indicated by the percentage total. In Hiroshima, the percentage total was 60%, and in Nagasaki, it was a significantly different 95%. As a result, this chart emphasizes that burns were a leading cause of immediate death. According to atomicbombmuseum.org, over 90% of the people within 500 meters of the explosion site were immediately burned or vaporized. Survivors in both cities faced several health effects as a result of the explosions. Survivors in both cities faced the after effects of radiation poisoning. According to the atomicbombmuseum.org, most people close to the explosion sites received high doses of radiation, which resulted in them dying immediately or during the day. The most common effect of radiation was flash burns. Flash burns are a result of heat radiated energy released from the bombs, in which the radiation increases the body temperature of a human being dramatically to the point where the human skin is burned. In the case of this photograph, which was a common occurrence in most people, the clothes were actually imprinted onto the victim due to the burns. According to atomicbombmuseum.org, other cases of radiation were reported, such as illnesses, such as damages to the lymphatic system, which is responsible for fighting off infections in the human body, blood injury, which in many cases was a dramatic drop in white blood cell count, the destruction of bone marrow and stomach and intestinal fluids was a common occurrence in many of the survivors in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The exposure to radiation led to several afflictions in survivors through later years, resulting in several cancers. According to the atomicbombmuseum.org, in 1954, 3,778 people died as a result of lung cancer. Several years later, in 1975, a total of 1,838 cases of leukemia were reported in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Apart from radiation, there were several injuries that occurred as a result of the explosions. One of the most common was called keloids. 14-year-old Hiroshi Moroshida describes keloids based on his exposure to the bomb, stating, "I was 1.7 kilometers from ground zero on the morning of August 6, 1945. So I suffered many serious burns on my face and hands, which left large scars known as keloids. Keloids is an overgrowth of scar tissue in which victims with flash burns usually begin to develop overgrowths, as seen in the picture, on their burns. As a result, they developed them as their burns were healing. So many victims that had already received flash burns ended up receiving overgrowth, which had to be removed by surgeries and such. As a result of these injuries, the immediate death count over several months doubled in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki to 135,000 in Hiroshima and 64,000 in Nagasaki. Now, let's examine the effects of the atomic bomb on infrastructure. According to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the amount of destruction in Hiroshima and Nagasaki was significantly different. In Hiroshima, everything up to 1 mile was completely destroyed, with the exception of some heavily reinforced concrete buildings that were built primarily to withstand earthquakes. However, several of these buildings lost the majority of their windows, frames, and doors, and nothing else was left except charred remains. In Nagasaki, the calculations, the percentages of buildings destroyed was a little bit more accurate. Nagasaki, based upon the total percentages, about 40% of the buildings were destroyed and only 60% remained. This was a significant difference to the 67% of the buildings destroyed in Hiroshima, which the reason there was less damage in Nagasaki was because Nagasaki was on a hilly mountaintop region. So as a result, when the bomb detonated, the blast radius could not penetrate as much as in Hiroshima, which was on flat lands. However, the bomb in Nagasaki was considered more powerful because it was able to destroy heavily concreted buildings compared to the bomb in Hiroshima, which had about 50 heavily reinforced concrete buildings left over. In conclusion, I have shown you the devastating effects of the atomic bomb on the people and infrastructure of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Many people in these cities were affected by the destruction of these weapons, which was Hiroshi Morishida, the young boy with cowboys, now a teacher, states, "Should that misery be forgotten? Should we not foster in young people a will toward peace that can help avoid the same blunder again?"
Thank you, Mark. When you rehearse this,